Hello everybody, my name is Professor Scalar and welcome to my first Rundown 4 level guide video. It's been quite a while since I've had to do one of these, so let me take a moment or two to explain everything that you can expect to see in these videos, because whether you're a newer viewer or a returning viewer, things are going to be a bit different. Starting off, I will be recommending your loadout, not your weapons, but rather your tools. Your weapons, you can use whatever the heck you feel like, whatever you're proficient and you're familiar with. Your tools, I will give you 4 specific tools I recommend. In these 4, there are going to be the mandatory ones and the optional ones. The mandatory ones are the ones I consider essential for you to beat a level or at least have an easy time beating it, while the optional ones are the ones that I think would be better for the job, but I could also argue why you might want to swap them out for something else. I will explain how each tool can be useful and why you may or may not want to consider using it. Well, not. Very rarely do I tell people this tool is absolutely useless on this level. Once I have done the tool recommendation, I will then act as if I drop into the level with you. Treat me as if I am your 4th player. I'm going to explain your main objective, explain all the things you can expect from it. Every single zone you go through, I will explain one by one. That's how I format these videos. I take the order you play through the level if you want to complete every single objective, and I go and explain everything. If a zone has not much that I really need to talk about, then I leave it at that and I just say that and move on to the next one. But each zone one by one, if there are key items in it, new enemies, something that you probably have never seen before, an alarm door, anything like that, I will be thoroughly discussing and explaining it. Especially alarm doors. I will be doing map overlays and showing you where enemies can spawn and which routes they will most likely take to get to you. That way you can better prepare for them. If there's a surprise mechanic at some point, maybe an alarm going off that you didn't expect because of extraction or something else, I will make sure that is no longer a surprise for you. I will be explaining every little detail in these levels without going too far into it, basically in the order you can expect to see it. That way you are well prepared for every single mechanic and you have a better idea of how to deal with them without running around like a chicken with its head cut off thinking how the heck are you going to survive. With that all being said though, I think we can get started with the official guide. So let's start off with your loadout. The recommended loadout for R4A1 would be 2 sentries, 1 biotracker, and 1 seafoam launcher. The mandatory one in here is only the seafoam launcher, and that's only if you're doing the extreme route. Seafoam launcher makes it much easier, so I would definitely recommend this if you're doing the extreme route. Everything else though, is pretty much up to you. A lot of the time you're going to have 2, maybe 3 different directions enemies can come from, so 2 sentries do a pretty good job at clearing out enemies. Burst sentry and auto sentry doesn't really matter, by the way. Keep in mind, burst sentry is more meant for long range and auto sentry is more meant for close range, but there's plenty of opportunities where both of them can shine, so pick your favorite. The biotracker, you can swap this out for a 3rd sentry or the mine deployer if you really want to. I like the biotracker because there are some foggy zones and some dark zones here, and I said there are multiple directions they could come from. Using the biotracker to be able to ping enemies and get a good idea of what direction they're coming from is pretty nice, but I know a lot of people would prefer to replace it with something else, so if you want to, go on ahead. Your main objective for R4A1 is to find 6 hard drives and then get out of the level with them from the point where you extracted in the first place. This is not too complicated. There are 8 hard drives in total, however this doesn't really change up too much due to the fact that you will still have to go to the very end of this level in order to get the final ones you need for extraction. In the first zone, Zone 32, there's really nothing that needs to be stated about it. It's a bit foggy, there are going to be some enemies, and there is a terminal that you can use to query where every single one of the hard drives are just to make sure you don't forget any of them, but overall, nothing worth mentioning. The door to Zone 33 is a basic security scan, no alarm or anything attached to it, so you can just go right through it. Zone 33 though, there is going to be your bulkhead door control, and there are going to be 3 doors you can go through. There's a bulkhead door to the west, which is your extreme route, a bulkhead door to the north, which is your main route, and an alarm door, class 2, to the east. With this one, you won't be able to access either of the bulkhead doors yet because you don't have the bulkhead key, so your only option is to go to the east to get into zone 36. This is a class 2 alarm door, and if we look here on the map, this is where enemies are going to be able to spawn from. Or back up a bit, in case you don't know the mechanics of how enemies spawn, let me quickly state it. Enemies will never spawn in the room with you or the room next to you. They can only spawn 2 away. So here is the floor plan for this alarm door. As you can see, there's only one room that has a 2 on it, which means this is the only location that they can spawn in. And since enemies take the fastest route to get to you, this door right here is going to be the only door that they're going to go through. Something I should also mention with these videos is I'm no longer going to specifically say how you should position turrets and stuff. I did do that in Rundown 3. However, if you watch my basic beginner's guide video or you just know how these things work, I don't need to specify it. I will still specify it in some situations where I find you have to be a bit more unique and creative with it, but in this simple situation, that's all I'm going to tell you. This is the one and only door they can come through. Leave it up to your team to decide how many turrets, C-foam, or mines, or whatever else you might want to use to defend against it. I will warn you that the scans do tend to go up in this room right here, and because of that, if you don't C-foam the door, you will probably have to fight them while you're up in there, which can get a little bit dicey, but even then, if you know what you're doing, it's not too hard to deal with it. Once the door is unlocked, you can head to the east and head to zone 36. Zone 36 will have a few enemies, some resources, some more hard drives, but most importantly, it will have your bulkhead key. With this, you can head back to zone 33 and insert it into the bulkhead door control. Since this is the first guide video, let's take a quick pause to actually explain the layer difficulty mechanic and how these bulkhead doors work. In all of the odd numbers, so A1, B1, C1, and D1, you're going to have 2 objectives, your main and a secondary. The other 4 levels, A2, C2, B2, D2, those are going to have another objective, the overload objective. For here in A1, your extreme objective is through the bulkhead door to the west. On the bulkhead doors, it will tell you what objective is behind it. The one to the north is your main objective. However, be careful with these levels. Sometimes you don't even have to go through bulkhead doors to actually complete your main objective, but you do always have to go through a specific order if you want to do everything in one run. There are no extra bulkhead keys. In this situation, the second bulkhead key is through the extreme route. So if you open up your main objective, you cannot do the extreme objective no matter what. There is no other key down that route, you will not be able to open it. If you only want to do the main objective for your first time, do the full team scan that says it's your main objective. If you want to do the extreme one though, make sure you do the full team scan for that one instead, and then you don't have to finish it. You can go halfway through with these alternate objectives and then stop, but you just need to make sure you get the other bulkhead key. If you walk into the extreme route and you find the bulkhead key in the box right in front of you, you can leave. You do not have to do any of that objective. It's completely up to you. The only thing that you have to do is finish the main objective in order to leave the level. You could do half of the secondary or even the third objective and then just leave without finishing them. You just won't get completion for it. But with that being said, let's get back to A1. You're going to be heading to the west if you're opening up the extreme path, which is the one we're going to talk about first. Choosing the extreme route will enable you to try to open the door to the west. Why I say try? It's because in order to get into zone 61, you're going to have to go through a class 3 alarm door. This means 1 full team scan and then 2 sets of red scans. With this one, enemies can come from the south down here and from the east over here. If they come from the south, they will come through one of these 2 doors or potentially even both of them, depending on how weird the AI wants to be. If they come through the east, they will always come through this door here. So set up your defenses accordingly, because other than that, this is a normal alarm door. Once you have finished it, you'll be able to open it up and head in to zone 61 to start your secondary objective. Once you walk into zone 61, you'll see your secondary objective is to find 2 specific terminals and establish an uplink with them. The uplink, for those of you who have never done it before, is nothing too complicated. Think of an alarm door However, you have to put codes into it instead of doing scans. When you find it, you'll have to use an uplink connect and then an IP address that will show when you get near the terminal. That will initiate it. Then you'll have to do uplink verify in a 4-letter word. This word is going to correspond with the key it gives you on screen. It'll say something like YO3, and then when you're outside the terminal, you'll see a bunch of those with 4-letter words corresponding to all of them. Find the key that is on there on the terminal, find what word that corresponds with, then uplink verify, and then that word. Once you do that, it'll process it, it'll give you a new one. Do that 3 times and you're done. Both of these terminals are only 3 waves. However, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. To get to them, you're going to have to go through 2 alarm doors, one to the west and one to the north. At the end of the zone, you're going to find 2 generators, and throughout the zone, you'll find 2 power cells. Put the power cells into the generators and it will unlock the doors. Both of these doors, though, are Class 3 cluster alarms. Cluster alarms are something new to Rundown 4. They're not too much different, though, from your basic alarm door. You'll have a full team scan, and then instead of 4 small red scans that you have to do, you're going to have about 5 to 9 light orange scans everywhere. Even though these are orange, they are not full team. They can be finished by 1 person, and they actually finish incredibly quickly. So even though there's a lot more of them, they finish much faster. However, they do tend to go throughout pretty much the entire room, so some of them may take you for a bit of a loop. My recommendation for this is do both of the doors at the same time. That might sound a bit weird, especially to people who never try this method, but hear me out. There is a limit of how many enemies I can spawn in for an alarm door. Once that limit is hit, no more will spawn in until a few of them die off. This limit is not too much more than 1 alarm door will spawn in with the first wave. It's about 1.5 or 2 waves from an alarm door. Because of this, if you pull both of them, you'll pretty much hit the enemy cap almost immediately, and practically no new enemies will spawn in. Also, because there's only 1 entrance to this room, it's super easy to defend against it. The best way to do this is have your sentries on the outside of the door. That way, they will shoot enemies who are approaching the door and who are hitting the door. And this is why I recommend you have a ton of C-foam. Your C-foam launcher person is going to focus primarily on keeping that door intact and not letting it break open. Go down to the west door since it's further away and initiate that full team scan. Finish that full team scan and then start heading towards the other alarm door. If enemies are already banging on the door, the C-foam launcher person should wait there, have a full charge ready, and as soon as all the C-foam breaks off and they actually hit the door itself, spray it on the door to completely reseal it. Then they can get on the full team scan with you and you can get that one done. Once both full team scans are completely finished, 3 of your people focus on finishing all of the small scans, while your 4th with the C-foam launcher keep reapplying C-foam to the door. I would recommend don't just do full charges, just do like a 4th charge and then shoot it and just keep doing that as fast as you can. This will basically keep applying C-foam to the door. It will not stick to it and not actually apply to it. And it's safer because if you wait until it's all gone and they start hitting the door, then the door itself will take damage, and after doing this a few too many times, they will break down the door. You don't want these enemies getting in prematurely. If done right and you go quickly and you don't take too long, once you finish all the scans, the turrets will finish off pretty much the rest of the enemies or run out of ammo. Either way though, let the door break open and deal with whatever is left. Because of this, both of those doors are unlocked now, and you can go through them at your leisure. The door to the north leads to Zone 62. You're trying to find one specific terminal in this zone, and there are 3 of them. If you find your terminal pretty quickly, don't start the uplink. Complete this entire zone, kill every single enemy, and empty out all of the rooms. If you leave some of them open, or you don't finish them, and there are enemies left, and the uplink terminal spawns the enemies in those zones, they are probably going to get dragged in, and you're going to have to deal with a whole lot more than you bargained for. Especially if a scout is in one of those rooms you did not clear out. So make sure you clear out everything and find the terminal. Depending on the terminal you have will completely change how you're going to have to prepare for this level and how you're going to have to set up for it. This terminal right here, this is the floor plan for it. That means enemies are going to be coming through these doors here. This terminal here, this is the floor plan, so these are the doors that they're going to be coming through to try to get to you. And finally, this terminal here is probably the best and easiest one for you, because here's the floor plan, this is where they can spawn. As you can see, they're all going to funnel down the same path and go through these two doors here. Set up your turrets and C-foam and mines accordingly, depending on what you took in, and just go all out. Once you have finished this uplink terminal completely, head back to Zone 61, go through the door to the west, and now you're heading into Zone 63 to pretty much do the same thing again. Zone 63 looks a little bit different, but is ultimately the same thing. Clear out every single zone, make sure no enemies are left, and here are the locations of your 3 terminals. This terminal right here, this is what your floor plan is going to look like. This terminal here, this is what your floor plan is going to look like. And finally, this terminal here, this is what your floor plan will look like. This terminal right here though, I want to take a little bit of a note of, because this is the only one where they can come from 3 directions. If you have this terminal, I would recommend have one person positioned in this room, one person positioned in this room, and the 4th person positioned here. And this 4th person should specifically be the person who has the biotracker if you took a biotracker. The reason for this is the biotracker can tell which direction they're going to come from, so that person who's out there knows what to prepare for. Also, this is because this room, the terminal, there are 2 doors practically right next to it, so if either one of them gets broken down, the enemies will probably swarm underneath the feet of the person on the terminal and damage them while making it hard for you to shoot back at them without accidentally shooting your teammates. For this reason, it's better to fight them before they actually get into the room with you, since this one is a bit smaller compared to the other ones. Other than that though, nothing that I really need to mention here. Once you finish this, you have completely finished your secondary objective and you can head back to Zone 31. Once you go back to the bulkhead door control with your second key and plug it in, your team can select the main objective and then get ready to deal with that bulkhead door. This one is a Class 2 alarm door, which isn't too difficult in itself, finishes pretty quickly. However, you have 3 directions enemies can come from. Let's take a look at the floor plan. As you can see, enemies from the west, east, and south are going to come for you now, and they can spawn in any one of those 3 directions randomly. This is a pretty quick one, so as long as you finish the scans quickly and you don't dilly-dally too much, you'll probably only get 1 wave of enemies spawning in. The best way to do this one, in all honesty, is keep your turrets near you. Don't try to spread them really far out, because if you do that and they come from the direction that you don't have anything positioned in, it could be difficult to go run and grab your turret and reposition it. Probably want to just keep them close to you, or at least keep them near the entrances to the room itself, so that if the enemies don't come from that direction, it's not too far away from you. Focus more on finishing the scan first, that way no more enemies will spawn in. Clean out the rest, and you can head through to the north to head into Zone 34. Zone 34 doesn't really have too much in it either. There will be no hard drives in this zone, so you cannot finish your objective here. You will have to go to Zone 35, and at the very north end of the zone, there is a Class 3 alarm door. This is the floor plan. As you can see, only 1 room that they can spawn in. Because of this, they will almost always, every single time, break down this door here. However, from there, they can alternate a bit. Either they will head directly north and go for this door here to get to you, or they're going to take the scenic route, head to the west, and go up this way and go through this door. Because of this, I would highly recommend you set up defenses for both of them just in case. Once you finish this alarm, you can head into Zone 35, kill off some more enemies, and find the last of your hard drives. This is where at least 3 of them will be. Once you've collected the 6th one though, you can head back to extraction. There is no final alarm on extraction, nothing's going to happen once you pick up the 6th one. So as soon as you get it, you can leave without fear of any more enemies spawning in. And that's all you're going to have to do. Once you get on extraction, just watch that timer go up to 100, and once it hits 100%, you are out of there. And that's all there really is to R4A1. If you think I forgot something that I should have mentioned, or you have any questions, leave them down in the comments and I'll get to them. If you have any suggestions or you want to give me some feedback about the new style of these guide videos, let me know down there as well. If you liked the video and you found it helpful and it helped you beat the level, hit that like button. And if you want to get notified whenever I post new videos, whether it be me playing through them or the guides or anything else, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification so you get notified when I post a new video, or follow me on Twitter. The link to that's down in the description, and every time I post a new video, I tweet it out so my followers know as well. Just because YouTube notifications can sometimes be a bit iffy. But that's everything for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.